Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news and analysis from Taiwan. I'm Donovan Smith. Up today on the show, the government comments on monkey business. A TPP lawmaker makes a move, but don't read too much into it, except maybe you should, maybe. The premier approves an irrigation bill. Who cares, you ask? Actually, it's a big deal, and I'll explain why. Johnny Chang comments on the 1992 consensus. Will Han's strategy of laying low help him win the recall? The KMT thinks so. U.S. worries on China lead to approval of cable link to Taiwan. The U.S. and PRC do flybys. The PRC bans students from studying in China. Taiwan remembers who their friends are. Taiwanese show their outrage at WHO's Tedros by sending nice pictures. Taiwan slaps back at Tedros, showing how Taiwan helps Ethiopia, and the People's Republic doubles down on Tedros' claim of Taiwanese racism. But of course, as always, up first, coronavirus news. In Focus Taiwan, Taiwan reports one new case of COVID-19, closes hostess clubs. They're also closing nightclubs as well. One new case, that's pretty good. It was only 3 yesterday. Continuing in Focus Taiwan, new online system for sending masks to overseas relatives crashes. A computer system crashed Thursday when online applications opened for Taiwanese nationals to send surgical face masks to their spouses and close relatives overseas. Due to high traffic, the online system went down soon after it opened at 9 a.m., but was restored at 1 p.m. Moving over to RTI, the headline is Electronic Surveillance Amid COVID-19 Outbreak is Legal Official. The Justice Ministry says that government electronic surveillance being implemented to stop the COVID-19 outbreak is legal. On Thursday, Justice Minister Tsai Ching-hsiang told lawmakers that the quarantine measures and the government had adopted to combat COVID-19 are in line with the Communicable Disease Control Act. These include using GPS tracking devices to monitor the whereabouts of people subject to quarantine. However, let's take a look at this. It says here that over 100,000 people have been tracked. Now, this is in Chinese, but this is the Laws and Regulations database of the Republic of China. What they're talking about here is Article 7, which basically says the CECC Command Center, if they need to, they can implement any steps or any actions they need to implement to face the contingency. That's it. There's no checks and balances, no conditions, nothing. So that seems like a very vague. In other words, under that Article 7, they can essentially do anything they want under to face the coronavirus. Now, up to this point, I would say that the CECC has been responsible and has done a good job, not complaining about that. I do find this law to be very, very vague and alarming and could be used for nefarious purposes under a future government. Taipei Times, group warns keeping macaques as pets still illegal. Seriously, people, do we need to be reminded of this? Keeping Formosan rock macaques as pets is illegal and poses an infection and disease risk, which has not changed despite the species' removal from the conserved animals list. The Taiwan Macaque Coexistence Promotion Association said last week. It should also be pointed out they can be quite dangerous. Moving on. In the Taipei Times, a TPP lawmaker says election not behind move. Taiwan People's Party legislator Tsai Biru yesterday said that her move to Kaohsiung was for personal reasons, not because she is eyeing a possible mayoral by-election. So this is interesting. She's moved to Kaohsiung. There's a recall petition that's passed, and so there's going to be a Han recall election coming up probably in June. Now, Tsai Biru said she had relocated to Kaohsiung in January or February when the recall petition had been already underway. And the decision was personal and unrelated to electoral concerns. Quote, I have just now turned my thoughts to the issue of running for Kaohsiung mayor, she said, adding that she could not formulate a substantial response to a hypothetical question. So she's only turning her thoughts to it now. Taipei Mayor Ke Wen-je, the TPP's chairman, was aware of her decision and had not reacted beyond acknowledging it, she said. Discussions must be held within the party over electoral issues, but it would not overlook any election that moves it closer to its goal of winning a presidential election, she said. That sounds like a non-denial. Denial. Taipei Times. Premier approves irrigation bill. Premier Su Zhensang yesterday approved a bill which, if passed, would transform the nation's 17 irrigation associations into government agencies and give them authority to punish polluters of irrigation water. The bill was drafted in compliance with an amendment to the Act of Irrigation Association Organization that stipulated a new law be introduced to convert the associations into agencies and govern their assets and staff. Council of Agriculture, Department of Irrigation and Engineering told a news conference at the Executive Yuan in Taipei. The associations oversee about 60% of the nation's water resources, but do not have authority over polluters. Other than shutting factories down, there are no penalties for offenders whose effluent contaminates irrigation water, he said. Under the bill, only registered businesses that discharge effluent into the irrigation water would be punished with fines from 30,000 to 600,000 NT. About 2,300 employees at the 17 associations would be transferred to 17 corresponding agencies, which are to be created by the COA. The employees would enjoy benefits equivalent to those of civil servants under separate regulations to be introduced by the council. Now, asked how the council plans to persuade the KMT lawmakers to back the bill, the COA deputy minister said that it would communicate with the KMT caucus to hopefully meet the October 1 deadline to complete the move. The KMT has been vocal in its opposition to the transition, saying that it is a pork barrel policy by the DPP. So what? Well, several things here that are very important. First, the original act, which they kind of vaguely refer to here, that has the October 1 deadline, was passed a few years ago by the incoming Tsai administration. Now, this bill that they're talking about here, there's a lot of problems actually with factories, particularly as an example, I do the ICRT Central Taiwan News, and there's a lot of problems, particularly in northwest Zhanghua with, for example, electroplating factories. And they will come up with complicated irrigation systems to pump the polluted water into, for example, the irrigation systems, which of course poisons the land that people are growing rice on. And so there's been a kind of a cat and mouse game between the factories there. One weird thing here is that they can only punish registered businesses. Most of those factories I'm referring to they're not necessarily legal, but they may be registered. They're at least usually on farmland, which is not zoned properly. Now, why is this a big deal politically? Traditionally, the KMT had a patronage network in local communities. The local patronage factions, they'd set up two that would essentially play off of each other. That's how they'd keep them under control. They weren't allowed to leave their geographic area, for example, Zhanghua County. Now, these had access to credit unions, the farmers' associations, the agricultural associations, and the irrigation associations. Because they controlled those, they controlled their budgets. And they basically used they used jobs with these organizations as patronage. They could take money out of the budgets to use it to buy votes. There was a lot of this kind of thing going on. So by taking away now they previously have taken away the credit unions for the most part, but if they're taking away the irrigation associations. The next step, presumably, then is the farmers' agricultural associations and the fishing associations, because those and the temples are pretty much what's left of the KMT patronage network. Because, of course, the ill-gotten assets law also stripped away much of the KMT's assets. So the KMT doesn't have the patronage ability that it once had. So that's why this is important. This is one step of moving away on yet another pillar in their patronage machine. Now, it also goes on to say that the employees would enjoy benefits equivalent to those of civil servants. That is obviously a bid to get the loyalty of the employees of these associations, because generally speaking, civil servant salaries and benefits are usually pretty good. Of course, it's a bit ironic that the KMT is accusing the DPP of using this for pork barrel politics, though that may end up happening in the long term. We don't know. Moving on, this is a UDN report in Chinese, and the headline reads, Johnny Chang, whether or not the 92 consensus continues to survive, you need to ask Beijing. The upshot of this article is he basically is saying the KMT still needs to deliberate and come up with an internal consensus on what it thinks, and he says that China's position has changed in recent years, the international situation has changed in recent years. So basically, it's kind of a holding pattern. But he also mentioned that he said, under the 92 consensus, according to Beijing, is there any role for the Republic of China? Continuing in the UDN, the headline is Han Kuo-yu's low-key approach to the city governing. The Blues think this will help him pass through the recall vote. Well, whether it will or not, we don't know. We'll just have to see. Back to the Taipei Times. U.S. approves Google cable bid. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission on Wednesday approved Google's request to use part of a U.S.-Asia undersea telecommunications network that is to take data to and from Taiwan under the Pacific Ocean. Google agreed to operate the Pacific Light Cable Network system link between the U.S. and Taiwan, but was not authorized to use the U.S.-Hong Kong section. The U.S. Department of Justice on Wednesday urged the FCC to give Google owner Alphabet Inc. permission to start using the connection between Los Angeles and Elang County's Tochang Township. The Justice Department, however, rejected use of the connection between the U.S. and Hong Kong. Quote, there is a significant risk that the grant of a direct cable connection between the United States and Hong Kong would seriously jeopardize the national security and law enforcement interests of the United States. That was backed by Homeland Security and intelligence. On to the Taiwan news. The headline reads, U.S. surveillance plane flies near Taiwan soon after Chinese jets leave. If you're interested in the types of jets, you can check out the article. It will be posted on report.tw. On to Focus Taiwan. Mainland Affairs Council expresses regret over China's student ban. The decision from China was made considering, quote, the current situation of the COVID-19 outbreak and cross-strait relations, said the statement, which was issued by China's Ministry of Education. We have decided to suspend graduating students at all levels from pursuing further education in Taiwan in 2020. Students who are already studying in Taiwan will be free to decide whether they wish to continue their studies there, the ministry said. Now, that's interesting. Obviously, the COVID-19 outbreak, that makes some sense. But they go on and said, and cross-strait relations. All right, this is Expats CZ, ventilators from Taiwan delivered to Prague hospitals. The Czech Republic has received 25 ventilators from Taiwan to help patients with COVID-19, the disease caused by novel coronavirus. The ventilators and other medical equipment is a donation based on Prague's partnership agreement with Taiwan's capital of Taipei. Prague's mayor has been a very vocal and very strong supporter of Taiwan, and clearly the government here remembers that and is helping him in return. In the Taiwan news, Taiwanese retaliate against WHO with this attack from Taiwan hashtag. In response to the World Health Organization head's unsubstantiated allegations that Taiwan was behind racial attacks against him, Taiwanese netizens have posted thousands of tweets showing the foods and landscapes of Taiwan under the hashtag "This attack come from Taiwan." So, to poke fun at Tedros' preposterous claims, Taiwanese, Japanese, and foreigners in Taiwan immediately started posting countless tweets. Most of the tweets included photos of Taiwan's spectacular natural beauty, rich cuisine, Taipei 101, shipments of medical aid, birds, members of the LGBT community, and President Tsai Ing-wen. Continuing in Focus Taiwan, Taiwan details aid to Ethiopia in wake of WHO head criticism. Following accusations by the World Health Organization chief that Taiwan has been behind racially abusive attacks made against him over the past 3 months amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Taiwan's government responded Thursday by detailing its aid to Ethiopia. You can take a look at the article. It will be posted on report.tw. And finally, this is in the People's Daily. Whenever anything appears in the People's Daily, this is pretty much the official word from the Chinese Communist Party. A Chinese mainland spokesperson yesterday strongly condemned the Democratic Progressive Party Authority in Taiwan for its malicious verbal attacks on the World Health Organization and its Director General. Zhu Fenglian, a spokesperson for the Taiwan Affairs Office of the State Council, also slammed the DPP for conniving in the wanton spread of racist remarks by the internet mob from its camp. Zhu said the DPP took whatever means to bank on the epidemic to seek independence. The spokesperson urged the DPP to immediately stop political manipulation. The DPP's attempt to take the opportunity of the epidemic to undermine the One China principle and seek entry into the WHO is doomed to fail, she added. That's the People's Daily, the mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party. All right, be sure to check in tomorrow. Be sure to subscribe. And all the articles in English will be posted up on report.tw, plus some fun articles or interesting articles that I found for you, including Freddie Lim wrote an article for Ketagalan Media.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
哎呦，就是那个台湾狗啦，最喜欢我的台湾狗了。